Welcome to the latest episode of ConnectED Tech,
a podcast where the E and D may or may not stand for Elizabeth
and Daryl. Hello, ConnectED Techers! We're back for another great episode. Season 2, Episode 8. And we have show them 8. 8. And we have our a special guest today. I've never seen this guy before. What is your name? Have you been with us before?
I've been here before.
Are you sure?
Yes, I've been here.
Okay, well, just in case people don't know who you are, why don't you introduce yourself to the many fans that we have out there?
Because people think my name is Jake or Jack, so I'm just going to do this. J-A-C-E. My name is J-A-C-E, Jace.
the amazing Jace.
Yes, the Jace that lives in outer space, and they have a handsome face.
Oh,
He does, doesn't he? Look at that.
and he's a poet and didn't know it. That was nice. Do you remember who was our guest on the episode you were on with us before?
I'm pretty sure Jasmine never takes me to the water park.
Oh,
Oh, that's right. So she never took you to a water park. We did talk about water parks, didn't we?
Jasmine's your mom. Do you remember which episode that was?
Season 2, Episode 1.
Perfect. Season 2, Episode 1 with the
EduTech guys.
EduTech guys. And what did Daryl play? The ukulele. Nice. Good
You
job.
remember.
You do. You have a ukulele too. Well, it's good to have you back, Jace.
So that was 7 episodes ago. Time really does fly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, we're happy to have you back.
Yeah, we are. I like your shirt. You're matching us. I like your hair. You look quite dapper. You're welcome. Very handsome.
Yeah. So we have Jace here because he's an expert at what? Games.
Games.
Do you like playing games?
Yes. Mostly yes.
Mostly yes. Why do you love playing games?
Because when I'm bored and when I play games, it makes me not bored.
Ah, so games are fun.
Yes. So when I'm not bored, I play. But when I'm bored, I just sit there and watch TV.
Yeah, TV can get boring, but games make everything fun.
Yep.
I love it. Jace brought, what did you, on the table, I think Jace likes Uno. Uno's on the table. And then he brought some of these little guys out here in the front, if you can see them. They look like dragons, but they go into little balls, and when you throw them on the floor, what happens to them?
They transform into an animal.
They transform into animals. Pretty cool. And you said that's a game you play with your friends.
Yeah.
Some kind of a game. Yeah. But I think me and Daryl are supposed to be playing some kind of game today. Tell us about your games, Daryl. You are a
Yes.
big board
Oh.
game freak.
My goodness, yes I am. I love board games, especially in the classroom.
Awesome.
They promote many types of skills, many skills. Collaboration, like you said, having fun. And we do learn when we play some games, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Most
we
games.
do most games. And Elizabeth did mention Uno. Pretty standard game. Millions and millions of people play Uno. But I brought games here that probably most people have never heard about.
I hadn't heard of any of them.
No.
I was looking at no. I really was intrigued by the name of this one, Point Salad.
Point salad,
Like
yes.
salad. Like salad you could eat.
Do you
That's
like
what
to
I
eat
thought.
salad? Do you like salad?
Kind of.
Kind of.
I don't like it if it doesn't have ranch.
If it doesn't have orange.
If it doesn't have what?
Ranch.
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 Yes, ranch it's great on everything.
Ranch.
I put
Yes.
ranch on my pizza.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I saw you almost giving that face like, ooh, that's gross. No, it's great. It tastes good, doesn't it? Yes, I brought Point Salad, Just One, Code Names, Wavelength, and Concept. I brought these games for a specific reason because I feel like these games are great, especially for the classroom, because teachers are able to transform this game and incorporate their content into it.
Right. I used to do this, and I think we had an episode before where we touched on this, but we're diving deeper.
We're going in deep,
into the board
yes.
game thing today. And I used to make this mythology game, like a board game with mythology. It wasn't Monopoly, and I know how much you hate Monopoly. It wasn't Monopoly style.
I could have a whole episode on why I hate Monopoly.
Exactly, but it was really cool, and I printed out the actual board game itself, and I put it in. It was cheap. I didn't have any money, So I bought picture frames, like 11 by 14, and I printed them out on 11 by 14 paper and stuck them in these picture frames. So the frames became the actual board, so I could preserve the paper. And I had like, 6 different ones of it with all the different cards, and that was fun. I love doing board games in the classroom, but I've never heard of any. Are we going to play one? Are you going to teach us one?
We are. We have time to play one.
Yay!
Just one. But that's not what we're playing. But
You're like,
just
we're
one.
going to play just one.
But not just one. We're
one.
going to play a game called Concept.
I like it. And the concept of this show is games, and we have a guest today who's going to be talking to us more about games, and he's kind of an expert.
He is. Gamification, game-based learning. My Google Innovator mentor.
What's his name?
Jonathan Spike.
Spike.
Spiky.
Ooh, does that sound familiar to you? Why?
Because I have a lizard friend.
A lizard friend named Spike. Your bearded dragon is named Spike.
Dragon.
That's pretty cool.
So you named your bearded dragon after our guest? Oh my goodness. Wow. Did you hear that, Jonathan Spike?
Spike.
Yeah, Spike, okay. All right, so we're going to play Concept. And Concept is like, think of charades,
Okay.
but no acting, no talking. We're going to use symbols.
So not charades.
Not charades.
It's uncharades.
It's uncharades.
Okay.
Which I believe is a board game, actually. But
Really?
this is Concept.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is we're going to set it up and we're going to play it. We're going to play a little round of Concept.
I'm excited. Can they
Me
see
too.
us playing this game? I'm just curious because
No.
I hope so. We're going to try to
We're
do
gonna
some
try to make it where they
movie
can see
magic
it.
where they can actually see this game in action.
And we're on his team.
Yeah, we're all together. We're all a team.
we're all on the same team.
Everyone's a winner in this game. Okay? Like most games that we're familiar with, board games like Monopoly, we're just trying to steal money from each other, right?
Right.
Or like Risk, we're trying to conquer the world. But there are games out there that you actually have to work together as a team to win. Teamwork makes the dream work. Absolutely. So what we have here, this game is called Concept, and it comes with this lovely board with all these different symbols. Okay?
I love the colors in this. It makes me want to play it. It makes me want to learn how to play it. All the stimulation, all the different pictures. So I'm curious.
Awesome. This was a 2014 Game of the Year.
Wow.
Yes.
6 years ago.
6 years ago. Indeed. Oldie, but still a goodie.
Nice.
So the goal of the game is to get your team to guess the phrase that is on the other side of this card. And you can only use these symbols to help your team guess the phrase. So for example, let's say my clue was bumblebee, right? So this is the first token, we place it. So the main concept is it is an, let's see, do you see an animal icon here? It's an animal, right? Okay, so it's an animal, we know that. And I can then use any of these symbols to help you guess that it's a bumblebee. So I can say, well, the color is, we'll talk about the color of the bee, right? So if I say, I can use one of these symbols here, I can even use one of these cubes. Oh, so the animal, so it's an animal. So we use the same color that matches the concept. So what can I say about the animal? Well, the animal flies. Is there any symbol here that looks like it's flying, that shows flying anywhere? Do you see anything? Maybe, is there like a helicopter? There you go, it flies. Okay, so it's an animal, and it flies. Okay, then we can go to another, we call this a sub-concept. We're gonna look at colors now. So is there a symbol here that represents colors? I guess I could use this one here. And what do we know about bees? They're yellow and black. So I'm gonna keep adding cubes and symbols on this board, or markers on this board to help you guide you into guessing what that word is.
Does it matter which one of the symbols and markers you choose?
It doesn't, but you want to start with this question mark because that's the main concept.
Okay.
And then you have sub-concepts that could relate to the phrase. So you notice how I said, well, it's an animal that flies, but then I went to a new sub-concept based on color.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
So that's an easy example. I'm going to show the viewers the other type of phrases on this card. So it's divided by easy, medium, and hard, right? And technically, your team gets more points if you can get your team to guess the harder phrases. Can you look at some of those?
Tempting fate.
Tempting fate.
Wow.
They're pretty deep, right?
Yeah, because it truly is a concept.
It is.
It's not like
indeed.
just a noun.
Right. It's very abstract.
Mm-hmm.
But just by me explaining the rules to you, Elizabeth, can you see how this game could be incorporated into a classroom setting?
It's great for inferencing.
Absolutely.
That's the first thing that came to my mind when I'm thinking my former English teacher days. That was one of the things that was most difficult to get students to really understand, is that we're making inferences all the time, but giving them some kind of concrete, in this case abstract, way to kind of practice that skill. I can see it being really beneficial. And then just kind of using things from your own stories or things that you're teaching in class and using this exact same board, honestly, could be used for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And teachers could also, if they have vocabulary that they're trying to teach, or whatever their content, so you can pretty much modify these cards and add your vocabulary and have your students play this game.
Absolutely.
Right?
I love it.
So I thought it'd be pretty interesting if I came up with an EdTech tool.
Okay.
And you would try to guess what that EdTech tool is based on, what we have set up here.
All right, let's try it.
Let's try it. Okay, I'm kind of pulling this one from the air, so. Okay. Okay, ready?
Good. Okay.
Jace, I wonder if Jace knows these EdTech tools. So, again, it's like charades. There's no talking, right? I can't say anything. So let's just see. Okay, so.
Okay, so do I start talking?
Sure.
Or guessing? So it looks like a film strip, something to do with videos or movies. My first EdTech tool that I would think of would have to do with like WeVideo, but that may be too obvious. And it says green, so it's video and it's green is the color, so I'm gonna say Flipgrid.
Flipgrid.
Nice.
See, that's pretty easy, right?
Yeah.
So, but if I wanted to keep going, what other symbols could we have used for Flipgrid? I was thinking of global. Is there anything global? So I could have gone here. It's global.
Yeah. You could also do this because they do have the emoji thing incorporated with it. Nice. I love this game, Daryl.
Concept.
This is really good. It makes me want to go buy it. How much does it cost?
This game, I think it's on Amazon for like $30 maybe.
Okay.
I could be wrong. But it's a great game. I mean, it's challenging. It's quite the brain buster, yeah.
Lots of critical thinking going on. And I feel like for the price and the different things you can do with it, that's the appeal to me. It's not one set of rules for this game. And I think that's what Jonathan Spike, our guest, will really dive into as well, is like all the different things you can do with games. They don't have to be just from the rules that come with the game in the box.
Right.
Nice. Okay, very good, Daryl. Okay, well, we are going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with our guest, Jonathan Spike. Stay tuned.
You can find all things related to the ConnectED Tech podcast by visiting our website, flippingoodtech.com. And while you're there, make sure to click on all the tabs for a closer look at who we are and why we're passionate about everything we do.
And most importantly, be sure to follow us at Flippin' Good Tech on all social media platforms. And subscribe to our YouTube channel for quick access to all the latest podcast episodes, ConnectED Tech promos, and Flipped in 5 tech tips.
And we're back with Season 2, Episode 8 of the ConnectED Tech Podcast. And as promised, we have a really fun guest today. He's kind of funny, Daryl.
Kind of funny. He's really funny.
Yeah, when we were talking to him earlier, I was like, wow, I thought this guy was going to be a total dud. But he surprised me. Pleasantly surprised, I have to say. And he's got a kind of a really difficult name to pronounce, and we're not good with that.
No.
Who is this guy?
Actually, it's not too difficult. The coolest name out there, his name is Jonathan Spike from Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Yes, he is a tech coordinator at the University of Wisconsin, and he's a professional, all things gamification and game-based learning. Say hello to our viewers, Jonathan Spike. Tell us what you're all about.
Yeah, hey, as Daryl astutely pronounced, my name is John Spike, and yeah, I'm a coordinator of instructional technology integration services, or COITUS is the acronym for that, which is interesting.
Run for president, John Spike.
Yeah, on that ticket with that, I think as my slogan, I think would be really apropos. So Spike 2020, and have my titles acronym. I think that's a winning bid.
Awesome. So what do you do in that role? And what else do you do? You're just not the tech coordinator there. You also teach a class as well.
Yeah, so my main role is working with the instructional staff and then also the pre-service teachers in the program to kind of get them prepared to use technology and then, just use best practices with technology integration. And then, I do get to teach. So I teach in the fall a digital tools course with pre-service librarians mostly. And then I get to teach a course called Video Games and Learning, which is basically my dream come true as a child. So it's a pretty sweet gig. I love it.
I want to know how he got that gig.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, it sounds really good.
Jeez.
Are you hiring?
I just, I proved my nerdiness. I leveled up enough to prove them that I was worthy enough to teach video games and learning. No, an instructor was already teaching it, and she kind of brought on two of us to join her, and we actually, the three of us taught it, and then she kind of handed it off to me and my current co-teacher. I do more of the video games and learning side, how you can design learning games or use games in teaching, and he does a lot of gaming and diversity. So talking about the issues of race, gender, sexuality in gaming, and how that ties into the industry. It's really fascinating.
So specific, yeah. Because before you worked in the university, you were also a high school teacher. Am I correct?
Yeah, I was a high school English teacher, and then after that, I was a K-12 tech coach. So those kind of previous experiences gave me a really good kind of background and a base to go into the pre-service teaching at the university level and really work with them to kind of get future teachers ready for it, so they're not kind of after the fact learning the practices of good tech integration.
Finally, a guest
Right?
who's an English teacher like me. Almost every single guest we've had has been a science background, and Daryl's science, but I'm an English person. So yeah.
But someone working in the university level as well.
Yeah.
We haven't had any guests who worked at the university level, especially doing digital integration there. Awesome. So we have you here because we knew you were a master. You pretty well what gamification is all about and game-based learning. You're also a Google innovator, and you have a project called GameStorm.edu where you help teachers integrate gaming or design board games in the classroom. So you want to talk about your journey getting into GameStorm.edu, what you did in your classroom, what you do now with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So this all kind of started as I was applying for kind of the Google Innovator Academy in LA. I really I had applied, I think, a couple times before and struck out. And I realized I was like pitching these things I thought they would accept instead of pitching things that were like really a passion of mine. And so I just stripped away and I said, what is altogether, like, what is it that I'm really passionate about? And it's games and learning, as you've heard about video games and learning. So my initial pitch was, how do I help teachers like find games to use in their classroom or make ones? And it started with video games. But then when I got out to the academy and I talked with the other people there, and one of the cool things about the academy is you just get to bounce your ideas off of tons of just really passionate people. And they said to me, John, your passion, it sounds like more it's like board and card games and helping people make them rather than finding ones. And really talking to people made me realize that was what I was passionate about. And they also pointed out very simply, like, John, your suitcase was full of board and card games. Like, it feels like this is your passion. And I go, oh, that's a really good point. So it morphed into more, how do we help students and teachers make a powerful game about, demonstrating their understanding? And so I really have just kind of built the site out of, what do you need to kind of develop that process? And it can be that you make a fully fleshed out game, physical game, digital game, or it can be that you do an aspect of it to kind of show your understanding of a concept, whether it's making a character or an organism or a historical figures game card in a certain gaming universe, or you develop what it would look like if this this event or this thing was a currency in a game, or things like that. So you kind of talk about working in the gaming principles to demonstrate skills, concepts, how systems work together, I would say, in a nutshell. And it's fun to see what students and educators make. Their end products are really fascinating.
That's pretty cool.
you're looking at the design thinking aspect and incorporating engaging things. So I'm going to take it a little step back because we have words or buzzwords like gamification or game-based learning that gets thrown out there. Can you kind of explain to us and the viewers, is there a difference between the two, gamification versus game-based learning? And basically everything you talked about, is that gamification or is that game-based learning or is it a mix of both?
Yeah, that's a great question. The easiest way I've had it explained to me, and I try to explain it to, and there's tons of great people out there to learn about each setup. But gamification would be adding gameful elements, role playing elements, things like that, experience points to your overall class, and kind of turning your class into almost an experience or a game, kind of like a Dungeons and Dragons aspect to it. And then game based learning is more taking the art of games, like inserting games throughout your class, using games strategically to teach concepts, having your students make a game, would be game-based learning. And you can do both together. You could have a gamified class where students really feel like the whole class is this game world, where their characters leveling up and achieving milestones and pursuing side quests while playing serious games, while making games, whatever it might be. So the two don't have to be separate, but they kind of embody different things in education. So hopefully that description helps a little bit.
Yeah. It does. Can you give us some examples of some of the games you've made or some of your students have made and what they use as their model or template?
Yeah, for sure. So I always like to start when working with educators or students. I like them to start with, usually remixing a game. So a remix, it kind of, in my definition and definitions of other people who've game jammed, is just taking an existing game and tweaking the rules of it, and playing with the rules to see how that would affect the game world. So I usually start with tic-tac-toe, checkers, and chess. Like that's kind of my differentiation, and challenge them to tweak the mechanics, the rules, how the game functions, and see how that would change, how that game works. So it's really fun, first of all, to see them kind of riff on that. And then we talk about a reskin. So keep the game the same, but lay a theme over the top of it, right? The most famous example, Monopoly. There's 50 million Monopolies out there.
That's
right?
Daryl's favorite game.
No.
I have a feeling a rant is about to launch here.
No. We were going to have the game Monopoly on this table, but I was like, no.
Yeah, that could be a whole nother podcast, the issues with Monopoly. But anyways, that's a game that's very popular reskin. So we talk about, like, if you laid a theme over a game, how would that theme fit the game? How would you maybe need to remix it? And from there, then, some games that students have made that have been really fun. One of my favorites is a teacher named Paul Darvasi's fantastic educator up in the Toronto area. One of his students took Magic the Gathering and reskinned it for Henry IV, and like literally made all of these cards, characters, events, places from that play, and made it into a fully functional deck from Magic the Gathering. And you need to fully understand that play to really translate those cards into what would this character be able to do? What effect would this card have on the world? How would this card impact you positively, negatively, your opponent? It was just breathtaking, the work he put in. And that was just him translating that world, that system, into the game world and translating the language of that, which is such a higher order thing to do.
It is.
So that's one of my favorite examples. Ones that I've made, I've mainly kind of taken and reskinned or remixed games. I think one of my favorites, it was so simple, but it's one of my favorite party games. It's called Balderdash, where you try to make up, there's this question that's asked, and has a really obscure answer, and then you make up a fake answer and try to guess the real answer. And so I reskinned that with the advent of fake news and identifying false information. And so the challenge was, there's these different topics like tweets, headlines, hoaxes and things like that. And there's the real tweet or headline or hoax, and then everybody makes a fake one, and you have to discern, kind of infer and figure out if you can decide which of the other players made up the fake headlines, the fake news, and which is the real news. And the idea is a teachable moment about how easily you can be fooled by something that's thrown out by anybody. So that one was just a fun way to kind of get people understanding just how easy it is to fall for, these sensationalist headlines and things like that. So that's a fun one to play, but it also is teachable too. So I think it's a good blend of using kind of contemporary issues, skills, strategies to kind of teach concepts. So those are just two that come to mind.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's when you're turning your content into a board game, sometimes you're in a way kind of tricking your students into learning because they don't realize they're actually learning content when they're concentrating more on winning the game or playing the game. So like you said, like once the teachers make it, then we can get our students to start creating games. Then we're getting to the higher level thinking, and you really have to understand the content to create something like that. Yeah, I see your board game collection behind you.
Yes. Am I pointing the right way? Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, right back
What's
there.
your current favorite board game right now? It's a hard question, huh?
Yeah, I know. I'm obsessed with it. I actually just went to a conference, IdeaCon in Illinois, which is a fantastic conference. Just really, really came away blown away by it. But we played this game, and this has been my favorite for a while. I kind of use it on my podcast a little bit, but it's called Silicon Valley Startups, and I just love it.
I think I know that one.
It's so great. It's a great party game. I'll get a shout out to Mandy Freilich, who introduced it to me. She's a fantastic educator. Wrote a book called Divergent EDU. Free plug for you, Mandy. Thank you. But she played this game and she immediately sent me a message. She said, "Oh my gosh, John, you have to get this. You'd love it." And so the premise is you're all pitching a startup company, and one person is like the investor, and you rotate each round who's the investor and who are the pitchers. And you get cards that tell you your industry, they tell you your target audience, and they also give you like the parameters for your name, the name of your company. And so you kind of get elicit feedback for the name of your company, and then you choose your industry and your target audience, and you pitch to the investor, each person. But then the investor draws a card and tells you, "Hey, how are you going to address this hot trend in the tech world?" and throws out this topic. And you have to adjust your pitch to meet this hot topic. And so it's basically take apples to apples, Cards Against Humanity, and just add a little bit of improv to it.
Right.
And it is just so fun. Like, I've wept openly every time I played it. It is such a great game. So that's probably my current obsession. Silicon Valley Startups. It's so fantastic. Yeah.
Gosh, I see that one being so relevant with where we're going with students now, having them taking more ownership over their learning, and also the entrepreneurial spirit, kind of just giving them some exposure to that. I'm definitely going to buy that one and check it out. I love that idea. I have a question for you too regarding going back to students making games. Have you ever seen them deviate a little bit where they're like, okay, I made a board game, the standard typical looking board game, but have you seen them take it up a notch where they've incorporated technology into creating some of these games, or have you seen some examples out there of them making them go digital?
Yeah, that's a great question because it's fun, kind of returning to, I come from the tech world, but at the end of the day, we just try to, when we have a conversation and when I talk with instructors, students, colleagues, whatever it might be, we don't start with the tech, right? We don't go, okay, how are we going to infuse tech? We talk about the goals and go from there. And, the game storming has really been a return to low tech or no tech. It's fun to make without the tech, but at the same time, the students also, we give them low tech, no tech and high tech, tools to make it. And so it's fun to see what students do, whether they in their game, to make some randomization, whether they create digital spinners or they make like a, CYOA, option path, that branches out in a Google slide deck, or they want to add like a back channel to their game where, people can talk about their plans or their plots if they're doing like secret roles. It's fun to see them work in, technology into the creation as well. As they're building it. So I have seen a little bit of that, or even them just, using their technology to add a little bit of randomization to their creations. But surprisingly enough, they love to go low tech when they're making their game. They want it to be something they can just take and pop open at any point and play it, kind of anywhere. So there's almost been a return back to that, I don't want to say the glory days, but, the golden age of games being more, cardboard, physical, but they still have some fun high tech ways to add a little bit of element of surprise or just a little bit of advanced features. So yeah, those are, I guess, some of the ways that they've added tech, but they love the physicality of it.
I'm really glad you mentioned that, and I know Daryl he probably has some follow-up questions or responses to that as well, but I'm glad you mentioned it that way, because what you just showed us was that the students were choosing the technology for a specific purpose, to achieve a purpose. They weren't just using technology just for the sake of using it. They had a purpose in mind for using it to make their planning or their organization better, or whatever it was. So I think that's something to always remember. It doesn't have to be technology, but using it for a specific reason.
Right. Yeah, because board games in general, there's a surge since like 2012, 2013. More and more people are invested in it. It has to do with the just feeling the pieces and the community aspect, and which is great. Great for families at home. You're always playing video games, but let's go sit around a table. Let's have conversations, playing
Bringing
a board
people
game.
together.
But like you talked about that Silicon Valley one, incorporating improv and role play. It's a different type of board game. So that's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I one example kind of that in action is I worked with another great educator, Dr. Micah Shippey. He teaches social studies, and he just released a book called Ready. He has a group called Ready Learner One, and they released a book called Reality Bites, and he had his students, they had the option of making a game about World War I, kind of taking some of the skills, concepts, topics that they covered. And I talked with this class a little bit about how to kind of game storm. And it was really interesting to see. He gave them so many options. They could do Bloxels. They could do kind of like a draw their video game. They could, make it on these digital platforms, or they could kind of make more of a physical board game. And so many of them, he said, made board and card games. They really gravitated towards that as a medium. And the same thing happened for me. I had a high school board game and video game club, and I thought everybody'd come with their consoles, their handhelds, and play those. But one student would kind of come and play the games, his video games, but everybody else would gather around, grab a new game, explain it, and we'd all, break out and play different board and card games. They loved that return back to the board and card games. So just two examples of kind of that return back to the physical, like you said, that tactile, and just something about the mystique of that communal game.
How did you get the name? The name of the website that you have is GameStorm edu. So I understand the game and I understand the edu. Tell me why you threw storm in the middle of it.
Yeah. I think it came from, I was trying to get down to the essence. I also like plays on words too. I'm a big pun guy. Probably my favorite unit as an English teacher was when we talk about Shakespeare. I'd teach Romeo and Juliet, and we'd have a pun off in my class. So this is near and dear to my heart. And I make my poor wife has to listen to all my puns. But anyways, we do like a whole class on just puns and like how Shakespeare made incredible puns, and the students would make puns. It was just a blast. Anyways, I wanted something that was a play on words, if I was going to, turn this project into something I wanted to pitch. And so I tried to get down the essence of what I wanted this to be. And I was, bouncing all these game things. And I really thought like the idea is that they brainstorm a game, right? They are originally, developing a game. And I wanted it so much about that genesis of this is your game that you have made, whether you're an educator, student, anybody. And so I liked brainstorm, and it, just swapping out the brain for game seemed like the next logical step. So it became a game storm. We're game storming. There is, I think a lady came up, I hope I don't get sued, but she came up with a book called Game Storming, and it's aimed at businesses who are trying to like ideate. And so I threw the edu on, just as a more of an industry let's just call it copycatting, copycatting off everybody throwing edu on things, right? Yeah. Breakout edu, or, all the edu versions of things. So I just wanted to say like, yeah, mine's a game storm too, but edu, like it's aimed at really giving students and educators the tools to do it. Now you could do it with anybody, but that was kind of where the name came from, was brainstorm. We're doing a game storm. We're really trying to come up with an original game that you could utilize to really teach somebody something.
So John, you have a podcast, and I'm intrigued about the podcast because of the title of it, because Daryl and I like to laugh.
You are the king of puns.
I like to laugh at Daryl mostly, but.
So you're laughing at me? You're never laughing with me?
No, never. I love you, Daryl.
This is a beautiful moment that's happening right now. I don't even want to. I don't want to interrupt.
She's just doing it in front of the camera.
All captured for the camera. all captured.
Yeah, I have I have a podcast called LaughEd or Laughed or Lagoffed or
Lagoffed.
however you want to say it. I don't even know how
It's
to
the
say
English
it.
language, you know. The
Yeah.
GH is a f.
It was
Daryl
a
laughed,
cool one.
fed it, added.
Yeah. It's actually a really bad title because if you search laugh or laughed on podcasts, like all the comedian podcasts come up before mine. So nobody can find mine, which I mean is okay. I don't think anybody's looking for it, but yeah, it's called LaughEd Podcast. And I basically just interview teachers and, current, former, what have you, and just ask them to tell stories about either their time in the classroom, their time as students, and we just kind of chuckle about it. And then I have them at the end. I actually, call back to our Silicon Valley startups. I took that game concept and just turned it into kind of a teacher improv game where I give them like a scenario, like target students, they pick a subject. I give them like a hilarious, set of supplies, and then they teach a lesson on the fly, and I throw them a teaching curveball. Those are easily, I don't know about the viewers, but I love it. It's just hilarious to see what people come up with on the spot. And so it's just really fun. I do like gag like commercials in the middle of it that are just nonsensical. So I just have a lot of fun with it. It's kind of a side project. And if you're looking for it weekly, it doesn't come out weekly. It just comes out whenever I feel like it. So it's like the worst. I'm making $0.00 on it because I have no schedule and no promotion.
It's fun.
Mainly
I'm still waiting for episode 15.
Yeah. I've recorded like 7, and I'm just like, I'm going to make a season 2 when I get enough. But turns out you have to record people to have seasons.
Yeah.
So I'm working on that.
Because on your site, you even have people who visit your site to recommend some scenarios. I think I recommended one, but I forgot what I said.
Yeah, I put that, actually, it's in the rotation, one of your suggestions. So the other fun thing is, I have people for the teacher improv theater at the end. They can make card suggestions, which other people have done, like Cards Against Humanity had like a user contest. I love that idea. So in some of the newer episodes, actually, I give a shout out to the creator of the card. I don't know if we pulled one of your cards yet. I know you've made one, Daryl.
I forgot what I had put down. It was like you're doing a lesson for mimes or something. One of your supplies was like a bathtub of glitter.
Yes, I think I added the bathtub of glitter into the deck. Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Funny.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, but I love that. I had fun coming up with the cards, but I'm realizing some were good and some weren't. I was like, this is funny to me, and then a person would draw it and be like, what do I do with this? So I've been taking audience feedback on the cards, and it's been really, really fun.
So if somebody wanted to submit a card to you, a suggestion for this, how would they do it? And how do you choose your teachers that are actually on your podcast?
That's a great question. So if you go to shameless promotion, laughedpodcast.com or laughedpodcast.com or lagoffedpodcast.com. If you go to that website, there's a few tabs. There's a, apply to be on the show. So I take just cold requests, in a short form where you just kind of tell me a couple, really quick, like what stories you're thinking of telling. And then on the last page, there's also the Teacher Improv Theater submit a card idea for that. So you can actually see the cards and you can actually spin. I think I put like a wheel on there. You can spin and like see the scenarios and play the game yourself without listening to the podcast.
Oh.
Actually, who is it? Trisha Fugelstad, who does phenomenal art ed work. She told me she was on the show, like 4th or 5th guest. And she said in one of her sessions, they just pulled up the site and like used it as inspiration for like a quick, like creative idea brainstorm. They played like the Teacher Improv Theater. And I'm like, I didn't know anybody went to the website. So this is great news. But yeah, if you want to submit a card, you can. If you want to apply to be on the show, you can. I need to have both of you on, stat. I think it'd be a blast.
I'm doing it right now. Like, this sounds like so much fun. Right up our alley. You're talking about nonsensical earlier. I'm like, Daryl's the person for nonsensical.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. I feel like there's tons of podcasts out there where you actually learn something, in the education world. I promise every listener you will learn nothing. Okay. I just want to get ahead of this. This will not benefit you. Except I hope it brings you joy, so that's one thing. But some people make like an incredible like lesson out of this just absurd
Yeah.
stuff too. So somebody's like, I might try this lesson. I'm like, don't get a dump truck full of Legos and pour it through your classroom window. That is not best practice. But
Oh, how fun would that be, though?
yes, I have thought about it. I
Who
looked
has
into
that many
pricing.
Legos? Yeah.
It's expensive. I just want
That
to
it
get out of the
is.
story. Get off-brand Legos if you do it.
3D printed Legos.
Yes, there
Legos
you
are
go.
not cheap, man.
Yeah, it's a racket, you know.
And 3D printers aren't cheap either.
No, they're not.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Eventually,
it's
maybe
fun.
a 3D printer will be the size of this mouse.
They have those.
Oh, they do. Okay.
Actually, I don't know.
But then they print things that are like microscopic.
There you go.
Awesome.
Well, we're heading towards the end of the a lot of time with Jonathan Spike here. Can you tell us before you go, who are some people that you follow out there in Twitterland?
Man, there's so many. It's hard to narrow down, but just to reiterate some of the people maybe I brought up during the show in case you missed it. People like Jamie Donnelly, for if you're interested in VR and AR. You mentioned Steve Dembo is phenomenal. I think he's Teach 42.
Mm-hmm.
Micah Shippey is a phenomenal educator. He's been great to collaborate with, and he's just got a great great collection of ideas. I'll also just plug, in addition to him, his whole Ready Learner One team I've learned a lot from. So I know Jesse Lubinsky's on his team. Christine Lyon Bailey is on his team as well. I know I'm going to miss people on there. I think he's also got a number of different educators on that Ready Learner One organization, but they're all just great if you're looking for innovative ideas. And then if you start going down the rabbit hole there, like, you start talking about Jesse Lubinsky, you get into the Partial Credit podcast. Those guys are hilarious and have good ideas. It's like, take my podcast and then make it practical, would be the way I describe that. This is a great way to make sure.
We should have them on here then.
Yeah, you should. We should just do a 3 podcast
forget
like
this
jam.
podcast. I'm just kidding.
We could just combine forces.
There you go.
Yeah, I love it.
awesome.
I love it.
That's great.
I think I brought up Mandy Freilich is phenomenal, who gave me, suggested Silicon Valley startups. I know I'm missing people, but those are just a bunch of people.
Flippin Good Tech.
They'll still be your friend. Okay.
Oh yeah, Flippin Good Tech. I've heard great things. Don't listen to it personally, but no, I'm just kidding.
Maybe
Not my
this
cup of
episode.
tea, but I'm just totally kidding. No, you guys are phenomenal. It's been fun, Daryl. I personally getting to work with you and bouncing ideas off each other for innovator projects has been a blast. So I just tip my cap to all the educators out there sharing their ideas on Twitter, the ones podcasting and bringing people on to talk about what they're doing. It's a really fun community, and I think these podcasts serve to maybe bring people into the fold who don't know there's this like secret online hangout that's happening constantly where we just nerd out about games, VR, teaching, whatever it might be.
Well, there you go. And one last plug for you. How do we follow you, and what's your website?
Sure. Yeah, I just acquired the Twitter handle at Jonathan Spike. It's way easier than my old Twitter handle, which was like _ It looked like I was trying to make a secure password with my old Twitter handle or something. But yeah, just at Jonathan Spike. It's funny because I like mainly go by John, but every variation of John and Spike was taken. So at Jonathan Spike, but you can call me Spike or John in real life. But then I've got the GameStormEDU.com is the website about students and educators making games. And then as we talked about before, LaughEdPodcast.com is where you could apply to be on the podcast, listen to the podcast, submit ideas for the teacher improv theater portion of the show. It's a lot of different wild options out there for you. Yeah.
And if you're going to ISTE, if ISTE happens, then make sure you check out your session on virtual reality with a little immersive experience and possible gaming undertones.
Yeah, I'm actually doing it with Micah Shippey that I mentioned
Nice.
earlier.
Yeah.
And I think it's called VR Teamwork Makes the Dream Work, collaborative Oculus Quest activities for groups of learners. So it's great if you want to do hands-on group VR. We're going to give you some practical ways to do it and fun ways to do it and ways to do it that are subject neutral and topic neutral.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jonathan Spike at Jonathan Spike for joining joining us today. And that's going to do it for season 2, episode 8. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time on the Flipping Good
Side.
of
Yeah.
Ed.
That was great.